This is James Holder for IFL TV in association with Macklin's Gym Marbella. We're at Frederick's Restaurant today. We've just seen the coming together of Billy Joe Saunders and Chris Eubank Jr. ahead of their May 9th date. Got a little bit heated at points in there, Frank.
Well, it did. Obviously, there's a lot of rivalry, certainly even more rivalry now since that last fight. Chris still thinks he won it. We know that Bill did, and obviously they want to get it on again. Or sorry, Chris wants to get it on again. I don't think Bill saying he won't fight him again. What Bill's saying is, he wants to get the WBO title first.
Seems to be a real animosity between them. Usually after a fighter's fight, they embrace, they come together, they put things behind them. These two, the story just seems to have more to it, doesn't it?
Yeah, there's no, I think it's all in water with those two. And I think it'll always be the case. It's a bit like that with Nigel Benn and Chris Eubank Sr. all those years ago, same thing.
I think the dislike for each other will effectively make the fight bigger, so they might even be aware of that, you know. Well,
maybe, but I think more importantly, the fact it was such a good fight the last time makes it a bigger fight. It's a natural rematch. You know, it was a thrilling fight, and it was a fight of two halves, and everybody enjoyed it, and everybody had everybody says, what if this and if that had happened and so forth. But the fact of the matter is, it deserves to be a rematch. It is a quality fight.
I mean, Billy Joe Saunders, rightly so, he's waiting on his chance to fight for the WBO title. The winner of Andy Lee versus Peter Quillin. That in itself is a great fight, but then potentially you've got already an add-on from that, haven't you?
Correct. So, from our point of view, we've got a situation where if we can get it together, I think it's a big stadium fight.
What did you make of the way Chris Eubank Jr. dealt with Chudanov in his last fight? How did you assess that performance?
I thought he boxed really well. I mean, he had to dig deep, and Chudanov was tough. I think a couple of times he made it a bit hard for himself. But what I was impressed with was the last round, how he kept digging and digging and digging. I mean, he put those combinations together, and it could have been, the fight could have been stopped earlier. I thought that referee could have stopped that fight a couple of rounds earlier. We had all that controversy about the referee, and at the end of the day, the referee, I think he could have done a better job. But having said that, I think young Christopher come through it well, and he did what he had to do.
What did you make of Billy Joe Saunders' comments? If you were to double his purse for his world title fight, he would, without question, fight Chris Eubank Jr. on May the 9th.
Well, I've got my pencil, and I'm going to sharpen it when I get back to the office, have a look at that and see where we go.
Is that a realistic possibility, or do you think he's kind of just, being Billy?
No, Bill, if Bill says something, it's what Bill wants. Bill's he's no slouch in those sort of situations, and if he feels that way, then it's something for us to discuss. But the most important thing is they focus on what they're doing on May the 9th.
Indeed. It's coming away from May the 9th. Andy Lee, Peter Quillin. How do you see that fight playing out, and who would you prefer to be the winner of that fight, most importantly?
Andy Lee. He's a nice bloke, and Adam Booth's done a brilliant job with him. I'd love to see Andy win, because I think, it's a great fight. It's two travellers, him against Bill. It'll be a big thing in their community, a lot of pride at stake. And I think that it would be a good fight as well. You've got two contrasting styles there, which would make it an exciting fight. Andy obviously has got his work cut out going into the States to fight Quillin, but nobody's actually sort of put it on Quillin at the moment. He's had most of it his own way, and at least with Andy, he's going to be there, he's going to press him. He may lose the first few rounds, but he's got that old equaliser or upsetter, whatever you want to call it. He hits you on the chin, you can take you out, and be interested to see if he does clip Quillin, whether he takes his fighting heart away from him.
We know as well as anyone, financial security and making the most from these fights is what the boxers will always try to do. But what do you say to people that say that Billy Joe Saunders has already passed up opportunities to fight for a world title, Frank?
Well, he passed up the opportunity to fight for the world title, to fight Chris Eubank Jr. So that was the fight everybody wanted to see. At that time, he would have been fighting the fellow that Andy Lee fight. I can't even remember his name now, Korobov. So if we was to put a poster up, Chris Eubank Jr. against Billy Joe Saunders or Korobov against Billy Joe Saunders, it's a no-brainer, isn't it? And we give the British fight fans what they wanted, that fight, on the understanding that Bill become the mandatory, the winner of that fight becomes the mandatory challenger, and that's where we got to.
Interestingly enough, I know you've been trying to make the fight between Chris Eubank Jr. and Spike O'Sullivan. Spike's been chasing Chris Eubank Jr., as Chris said on Twitter, for the last 2 years. What was the stumbling block for this fight not taking place?
We agreed the terms for the purse for the fight. The problem was with the options, and the options were the purses, and the monies that his management was asked him was, in our opinion, was not feasible. So therefore, we passed on it. I'd love to have seen the fight. It's all very well talking about it, but if he had beaten Chris, no one was going to pay him that type of money. This, for that belt, it's just ridiculous.
How much do you know about the opponent that Chris Eubank's going to be fighting now on May the 9th?
Well, it's a tough fight. It's not going to be an easy job for him. It's a tough fight. He's an Aussie. He comes to fight. He's got to win. I think it's over Shane Taylor, and so Shannon Taylor. So yes, look, they've had Chris. That last fight was a tough fight. The fight before that was a tough fight. This guy, I think, will give him a fight on the night. Chris, I think, will be favourite going into it. There's no doubt about that. Bill has got a marking time fight, which it is a marking time fight, and that's where we are. We've got a great undercard. There'll be some great fights on there. I can't let Bill be inactive. He's supposed to fight on the undercard in the States on the 11th of April, but he had an injury, so we couldn't get there, and we pushed him back to May, and he needs a fight. He last fought in November. I don't want him out of the ring until July. It's no good, so that's where we are.
May the 9th, Wembley, set up for about 15,000, I'm led to believe. You've got Frank Buglioni on the undercard. Interestingly enough, new signing Anthony Yarde as well. He'll be making his professional debut. Excited about him?
Yeah, I am. I'm excited about all the kids on the card, but I am excited about him. And it'll be, I think if hopefully, and I'm sure he will fit into the pro ranks really well and do well.
Well done.